Hey YouTube, my name is Dan and welcome back to my fish room. So it has been a mad couple of weeks here since the last video, guys. We've had all sorts of stuff going on, hence the fish room looking a little bit messy. So I think the biggest thing we want to do, guys, is I'll take you around and we'll go and have a look at all the different tanks. We've got a heap of stuff going on, some fun, some not so fun. Really happy to announce no deaths in the fish room since we had the two Discus, obviously, last week, who had their probably pretty bad hex infection, which was worse than I realised it was. But I'm pleased to announce that, yeah, everybody else in this tank is doing good, although the tank itself looks a bit mank, as I'm sure anyone who's had to treat and dose their fish tanks and stuff, it always just looks a bit gross for a couple of weeks until you can get all those water changed to flush everything out. Let's just jump straight into it, guys. Okay, so Discus tank is, other than looking a little bit gross, like I said, everyone's looking really healthy and eating really well. So to be fair, these guys all in here, hi Betty, they'd always been looking pretty good. It was the other two that I'd kind of really noticed. But I wanted to dose the tank just to be on the safe side. So hex, obviously it's sort of a bacterial infection. It gets in their stomachs and things like that. So one of the ways that you can dose it is you can dose the water, which is basically the best option I could get in a timely manner. So in Australia, we don't get as many of the good medications as you can get in the States and overseas and stuff. So the best thing I could actually get, which I'm just going to show you guys here, is this thing called Hexacure. So this one, oh yeah, there we go. Not sponsored, obviously. No one knows who I am. But that's medication that you put in the water, and it can really kind of help. It kills the parasites and everything like that in the water. Then I've got some Seachem Focus, which is some antibacterial stuff that binds and goes into food. So this has been going into their food, as well as I've got some Seachem Metroplex, which is essentially the same thing as this, but it's a little bit more, it's a little bit better, and it goes into their food and can just really make sure that all their insides are nice and okay. So I'm just waiting on the Seachem Metroplex to arrive, and then these guys will get their round of it, which I think is about 7 to 10 days. So you just mix it up into food, and I'll show you guys that when I get to it as well. And then they can just have that. It's medicated food. It's pretty easy on them, but yeah, they're just to make sure. So outside of that, the tank does look a little bit messy because I haven't been able to do as many of the water changes as I needed to, because you have to let the water or the medication sit. But everyone's happy, everyone's healthy, everyone's eating. Yeah, it was such a horrible thing to have those two Discus pass away, because I love these guys and I've had them for so long. All right, so then our new additions in the Discus arena is my new pair of, well, hopeful pair of Super Red Rafflesia. I think that's how you say it, Rafflesia, Rafflesia, lovingly dubbed Jim and Pam at the moment. So these guys have been in here now for just shy of a week. Had a bit of a drama getting these guys from the airport last week. I've got some clips. All right, so I'm back at the airport. We thought the fish were coming through last night, but for some reason they didn't get put on the plane. So a little bit worried about them, but I spoke to Kelvin from Oz Discus, which is where I get all my Discus from. And look, he does this day in, day out, and he's double packed them, double insulated the box and everything. So he's confident that they'll be absolutely fine. I got the message coming through from the airport saying they're on the first flight in. So I am back here this morning. Second time in literally, yeah, about 12-ish hours. So let's go see if they're here. yeah, so anyway, finally got them home. They've been settled in for about a week, and they're doing pretty good. They're doing actually really good, I should say. They are eating well. They've been eating from like day one. They're not afraid of me in the slightest, as you can pretty much tell. Got their breeding cone in there. I'm not really expecting them to breed right now. Kelvin at the shop had said that they were showing breeding, like pairing up display, which I totally believe because Kelvin knows his stuff. But they are probably still a little bit on the slightly younger side, and I would actually like to get them fattened up and bigger before they start laying eggs, because although we've got some twitching going on right there, I still can't quite tell which one is the boy, which one is the girl. I think this is the female, and I'm pretty sure this is the male here. But yeah, they've got some growing to do. And the bigger they are, the bigger their babies have the potential to get, and also the females stop growing when they're spawning and laying eggs, so I'd like her to get as big as she can before that. But yeah, these are here for a couple more weeks in this tank just to see if the spawning and the pairing happens, and also just to give myself a chance to do the full dose of Metroplex, Focus, etc. in the main Discus tank, and then these guys will go in there. And then yeah, that'll be my little crew. I thought it was going to get a bit bigger, but obviously after losing the previous two. But 10 is a good number. For Discus, 10 is a good number. They're happy in that group. And for the tank size that I have, that's probably just about right. All right, so then moving over to my brand new tank that I thought I was filming and doing an intro to when I was setting it up, and I forgot to hit record. I'm still getting my head around all this YouTube and social media stuff, so apologies. But this is my new tank. It's a 210. It's like a custom size. It's like a custom width. It's like 3 foot by 1.5 feet by a foot or something. It's 210 liters, so literally just shy of a 55 gallon, which is a really nice sized tank. And the idea was to actually move some of my mini monsters over into this one to have as my mini monster tank. So as you can see, Frankie the Oscar's in here, Bluey the Akara, as well as Muesli the Bashir are in here. I've also got my angelfish mud pie, who's on the lookout for a new home just because he's in here by himself. He doesn't seem super duper happy. And I also have a long finned bristle nose in here somewhere. You can just see underneath this little cave here. It's actually a really nice, Frankie, get out of the way. Come on, bud. It's a really nice fish. I'm not much of a pleco guy, but a friend of mine who, new friend of mine who actually I got the tank off of had this as well. So these guys are in here. The idea was also to put them in here with a new Severum that I picked up, which was a bit of an unfortunate thing because I did put them in here with the Severum and these two did not get along, but also the Severum has ick. So I'm currently dealing with an ick kind of outbreak here in this tank, and also in the nail tank that the Severum is actually in. So that's a good learning there, guys. Always quarantine your fish, even if you know you trust the people that you're getting from the places. It's a lesson that, wish I'd learned properly the first time I learned it, but hey, such is life. These guys are all doing really well. It is minimal in this tank, and I'm doing all the medication and the daily water changes. So workload has been quite high in the fish room, if I'm honest with you. It's been a little bit, like I said, I'm not getting as much time to actually enjoy the fish as I would like, but that's what you got to do to look after these guys. And yeah, luckily within 3 days, it's actually cleared up quite well. So I've been using the Iconex, which is again one of the better ones we can get here in Australia. But I've also got some Seachem Paragard on the way. So it's one of those ones that I didn't think I could get. Some stuff you can get quicker, and other stuff takes like 3 weeks to get here. So I've got what I could immediately, so I can start the treatment, and then I've got the sort of the leveled up version coming as well. But these guys will go through that. But with it, as long as you keep everything, separate from all the other tanks, you do your water changes. Bare bottom here is your best friend, which is why honestly I think, guys, most of my tanks are just going to be bare bottom. After this sort of last few weeks, I'm like, thank goodness only 1 or 2 of my tanks has sand in it or pebbles or any kind of substrate. So yeah, these guys outside of the ick outbreak doing really well. Frankie continues to get big and fat. Muesli the Bashir is just always funny to watch. Like, I can't believe I didn't know about these fish until, I don't know, 6 months ago. They're just now one of my new all-time favorites. But yes, this is sort of mini monster tank grow out version 2. All right, then back to the original mini monster tank, guys, which is basically now just my black ghost knife fish kind of housing, who is getting real comfy coming out in the daytime, which, yeah, I'll see if I can get some B-roll and chuck that in. But yeah, they are getting real comfortable, which is nice. They're amazing fish, and the idea that you wouldn't see them very much during the day is a little sad sometimes. So anyway, Knifey McSpoony, as is their name, is out and about. Now, all that I have left in this from the mini monster tanks, as I've separated them because I needed a bigger space for the knife fish. I've got my silver dollars because, again, Frankie was getting a little bit peckish with these guys, and they're not quite at the size where they're outside of his, like, what's the word? Outside of his, like, dinner menu. My original little Severum Snape, and then my brand new golden red spotted Severum, who I've named Apricot. Unfortunately, this is the one that I got that has got the ick. I don't know if it is stress ick or just, the regular ick. Either way, same sort of treatments, I guess. Unfortunately, that has now passed on to Snape. So this tank is also getting its ick treatment. It's the same thing I'm doing with the mini monster tank. I do it at half dose because I've got scaleless fish and catfish who can also be sort of sensitive to it because the medication I'm using has copper in it. When the Paragard arrives next week, I'll put them through a full 14-day thingy of the Paragard. But look, it is what it is. It's just a good lesson to learn with these things, and it seems to always happen with fish keeping. I don't know if you guys all find the same thing. Of course, it's like, yeah, Hex, outbreak in this tank, so then you focus on that tank a little bit more. You maybe don't pay attention to what you're doing with some of your other tanks, make a little silly mistake, and then you're now sort of dealing with the consequences. Luckily, I think I've caught it pretty early. Everyone seems okay. Fins are a little bit less clamped today. They've just had their water changed, so they're sort of hopefully enjoying themselves. But just, yeah, it's just been frustrating, but it's been a good lesson. All right, guys, so that's pretty much the main stuff that's been happening in the fish room this week, outside of just making more and more mess. Like I was saying, it's frustrating. I'm glad there's no more deaths. Deaths are the stuff that I really struggle with, so losing those 2 Discus was really, really hard. The things like the ick outbreak and, a few other bits and pieces, it's really made me kind of take stock of where I'm at. The fish room has grown very, very quickly. I'm sure I'm not the only person. I mean, multiple tank syndrome is a thing is a real thing for a reason. I got very excited about having the space and being able to sort of, upgrade and expand my fish keeping hobby. But sometimes you go a little fast, a little too quick, and I've realized that I have so many things happening, whereas I've got like heavily stocked tanks, which I'm trying to get from breeding to high need care and attention fish, through to grow outs and tanks that are a little bit too small for the fish that, there's no way that they would stay in this long term, but even short term it does make a lot of extra work, and I've realized that, yeah, I need to kind of prioritize and focus where I want to be. So for me, that's always going to be number one is my Discus, making sure that they are happy and healthy. Outside of that, I do love myself some big fish, so the grow outs and the monster tanks, monster fish, that's kind of my second priority, and getting a tank for those guys sooner rather than later, so that they can be in there, and it means water changes are easier because I don't need to do them as frequently. They've all got space, all this sort of stuff. When you've got the fish in the space that they need to be, even though it's way too big maybe for them right now, personally I'm finding it makes life a little bit, just easier all the way around. And then this rack here really is just going to be kind of rejigged and focused into like essentially a money making or sort of financial aid for my hobby. I've got my snails that I sell to the local fish shop. I've got my cherry shrimp colony that are doing really well. There's definitely been some early babies in there. I've only had these guys for a couple of weeks, which is great. My little guppies are growing up nicely. And even my crebensis pair down here, I'm pretty sure, again, excuse the mess on that one. I've been doing water changes, but they don't like my hands in the tank very much at the moment. They actually don't like anything in the tank very much at the moment, including the rasboras. So that suggests to me that they either are breeding or spawning, or there is maybe even eggs or fry in their little nest at the back. So I'm leaving them alone. The water's all fine and clean and stuff. I've been doing water changes and checking the parameters, but yeah, anyway. Very exciting for those guys. Whereas this tank over here, it was sort of like an overstock community tank that I thought was kind of, it was fun, it was nice to have, growing out my angelfish, but when I've got all of this stuff going on as well, I can't really afford having a big, heavy, overstocked tank that needs a lot of care and attention. So what I'm actually going to do is break this tank down, probably rehome some of the smaller community fish, and then turn this into pretty much just like a big, nice, spacious grow-out tank. I might even put a divider down the middle and see if I can try breeding some of the Corydoras. I'll have the angelfish pair in another half, and I'll rehome some of the other smaller fish. I always want to make sure my fish are looked after, but right now, small community fish, outside of from like a breeding project point of view, so I can sell and help have, bring some money into the fish room. It's, with all things, we live and we learn. And like I said on the last video, just trying to make sure that mistakes don't get repeated, and I take responsibility if there ever has been mistakes. All right, guys, well, we'll leave that there. Thank you again for watching. The next week, I'm basically just making sure that everyone is happy and healthy. And then my cats come and say hello. Philo, I say hello. Come up here. So this is Philo. She's only just recently been able to come down into the fish room, typical cat. So she's very excited. Anyway, if you could please like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, guys. I will see you on the next one. Bye.